Hey Internet, Steven here with the Marketing Mindshift podcast. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. We previously recorded an episode several years ago that never got released. And with the current COVID-19 crisis, I thought it was still some timely information in this old podcast of just external forces that businesses always can't control, but yet it affects your business. And so although some of the things that factored into that previously recorded podcast may have changed, COVID-19 being the current crisis that's affecting your business, a lot of the principles in that podcast still apply. So take a listen. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the next one.
This is the Marketing Mindshift podcast with Steven Mueller.
I'm your host, Steven Newland, and today we're live on location in Dallas, Texas. We're going to be talking about a pretty serious topic today, and it's also very relevant for this market as well as our home market in Oklahoma City, two markets that we have a heavy presence in. And today we're going to talk about how your business can better survive oil fluctuations in the market. Very serious topic, something that's kind of maybe overlooked or boring that most marketers don't think about, but we're going to take a look at a macro level why this might affect your business. So as you might have heard in the news over the last few months or noticed over the last 6 months, gas prices steadily declining, although they did have a brief recovery period. The EIA just announced again for the last 3 out of the 4 weeks, oil prices have been steadily declining again. A lot of the oil and energy companies where we're heavily invested in Oklahoma City and Dallas markets have been laying off employees. There's also rumors of more additional layoffs. And so we just want to dive in a little bit deeper today and talk about why fluctuations in oil prices can affect your business. Again, it doesn't matter what industry you're in or if you're an energy company or in an energy heavy market, although those markets obviously will be affected more heavily. But even if you're another business in those markets or other markets, oil prices will still affect you. We're a global economy that we're totally dependent on oil. The global economy runs on oil. So we're just going to dive into that subject a little bit deeper today and talk about why that affects your business and what you should maybe do to better recession-proof your business against oil prices. So just one of many ways that we're looking at how this can affect local business, especially in energy-heavy markets where we're invested in. Energy companies typically pay high-salaried, white-collar workers, have a lot of disposable income, so they use a lot of surrounding support businesses, dry cleaners, restaurants, retail, could go on and on there. But when those people either get laid off, obviously their priorities change, or for the people that didn't get laid off, spending habits become tighter, job security issues start to arise, things like that. And so, and that obviously has a chain reaction. So as people are spending less on support services and retail and restaurants and things like that, so inadvertently those businesses also have to consider layoffs and cutbacks due to consumer spending down and things like that. So before we dive in deeper to this subject, let's give a little bit of historical context. Over the last 10 years, oil has averaged about $80 to $100 a barrel, which is very sustainable. It's good at the gas pump, but it's also good for energy companies and job security and things like that. Inadvertently, when oil peaked back in 2009, it went up steadily, climbing to over $140 a barrel. Most recently, it has declined down to $46 a barrel. Now, most economists and industry analysts say that oil has to really average between $70 and $85 to sustain a healthy economy without cutbacks and things like that. Currently, oil prices are at $57 a barrel and falling. Again, this gets back into layoff situation. People aren't spending as more, things like that. So a lot of people say, Steven, this is kind of counterintuitive. I don't make a lot of money, or I'm a blue collar worker. Saving money at the gas pump is a good thing for me. It's put more money back in my wallet. Well, to an extent, you're right. But at the same time, if oil prices keep declining, one, that means, energy companies are going to lay off more and more workers to self-sustain. And again, that has an impact on the greater economy as a whole. We're not a one-sided economy. We live in a cyclical economy where other things affect other things. We're not really going into all the geopolitical forces at play that are helping drive some of these fluctuations in the oil prices. We're not going to talk today about Russia, Ukraine, Saudi Arabia, and all these other factors that are contributing to this problem. History also tells us that when oil prices steadily decline for a certain period of time, that typically triggers international wars. Which is again a very loaded topic, but it's something that also comes into play with what we're dealing with here. With all that said, let's break this down a little bit and say, okay, that's great, Stephen. I don't really care about all these worldwide geopolitical issues. How does that relate to my business? So the first and main call to action I want to give you is to diversify your marketing strategy. If you're in an energy-rich market, or even if you're not, who is your target audience? Who is your customer base? How do gas prices affect them? Are you in a market that's not really energy heavy, but you rely on a lot of blue collar workers? How do you target them when gas prices go up back to $3, $4 a gallon? The second point I want to talk about is, okay, I'm not in an energy heavy market, Stephen. How does that relate to me? Well, are you a restaurant that relies on a lot of blue collar workers? Maybe your business is doing really well right now because gas prices are historically down. So lower income workers have more disposable income than they do when gas prices are $3 or $4 a gallon. What happens to your business when it goes back up to over $3 a gallon or $4 a gallon? Industry experts and analysts say two things are going to happen based on historical analysis and current geopolitical situations. Oil is going to either continue to decline less than $40 a barrel, which will be catastrophic. We'll see layoffs in the tens or hundreds of thousands. Or history has also shown us that it will dramatically peak. We're talking well over the $140 peak that we saw in 2009, where we could see $4 or $5 or even $6 gallon gas. Again, my question to you is, what would happen to your business if that were to happen? Gas prices are historically low right now. You might be saying, Stephen, my business is doing really well. Well, history tells us one of two things will likely happen, and history has always repeated itself. Most economists and industry experts are saying one of two scenarios are going to happen, and again, history backs this up. They're either going to continue to fall, we're going to see massive layoffs and inflations and possibly wars, or two, we're going to see market prices peak to predictions are saying $140 or even over $200 a barrel, which translation that would go up to about $6 to $8 a gallon gas. Now, hopefully I'm wrong and industry experts are wrong, and we'll maintain these good gas prices. But at the same time, these are scenarios that you need to be considering as a business owner or a marketing manager, and have a plan in place to deal with these scenarios if they play out. So let's say you're a restaurant in California that relies on a lot of blue collar construction workers. Well, what happens to those construction jobs if energy prices continue to fall and fall? Our business is going to be investing in new buildings and things like that, or typically history tells us that construction projects will go on hold. So again, if these construction workers are out of a job, are they going to be spending money at your restaurant? Now let's say scenario two, prices continue to rise and rise and rise. We go back to $3, $4, or even higher dollar gasoline. Again, are these people going to be eating out as much, things like that? They're going to be pinching pennies, so they're not going to be eating out as much. So you need to have a strategy in place just for that as well. Now, these are just two of many scenarios that we're looking at just related to oil prices alone. There are many scenarios out there that are even more serious than this that you should consider. So my final call to action to you is, how are you diversifying your marketing strategy? If you have a marketing person or a PR agency or an advertising or marketing agency, these are questions you should be asking them as a business owner. How are they diversifying your risk? How are they diversifying your customer base? Things like that. And they should have a detailed plan in place. That way, whatever scenarios play out with gas prices or job layoffs and whatever industry is heavy in your market, numerous different situations, they need to have a plan in place for that. And if you don't, those are something that you need to be thinking about as a business owner. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please tweet us your comments, questions, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Mindshift podcast. If you're enjoying learning from Stephen on this podcast, please be sure to show your support by rating, reviewing, and subscribing on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Please make sure to also share this podcast with your friends on social media. If you're looking for more resources to help take your business growth skills to the next level, or for a copy of Stephen's book, you can find that at getstevensbook.com. Thanks again for tuning into the Marketing Mindshift podcast with Stephen Newland.
Order your copy of the Marketing Mindshift at getstevensbook.com and follow us on social media at Synergy Creative and at Stephen Newland.